the storm and the door. The hinges screamed as the old cabin door pushed open. Breaking years of silence, cold air swept in thick with the smell of damp wood. Wet earth and forgotten seasons. The mother raised her lantern high, its soft glow barely cutting through the darkness. Dust drifted in the air like tired ghosts awakened from sleep. "Stay close," she whispered. Her voice was calm, but her eyes moved sharply through the shadows. The boy nodded, clutching his worn backpack with both hands. Water dripped from his hair and clothes, leaving small puddles on the warped floor. Every board creaked under their feet as they stepped inside. The cabin was bare but sturdy. A crooked table leaned in one corner, one leg shorter than the others. A cold stone fireplace stood against the wall, its black mouth like something that had forgotten warmth. A few chairs lay broken nearby, the remnants of another life. "Are we safe here?" the boy asked, his voice trembling, kneeling. The mother checked the lock and slid the bolt shut with a sharp snap. "Safer than out there," she replied quietly. "But we'll need a fire before the cold finds us." Her eyes landed on a small pile of riddlewood stacked near the wall. She guided her son to gather it. His small hands shook, but he obeyed without question. The mother struck a match, shielding the tiny flame from the draft until it caught. Slowly, warmth began to crawl through, the cabin painting their faces in orange light. The boy edged closer, his thin fingers stretching toward the fire. For the first time that night, his shivers began to fade. Outside, the storm roared like a living thing. Thunder rolled across the sky, and the cabin trembled under the wind's heavy hands. The boy turned to the window. Eyes wide, trees bent and thrashed violently. And then, cutting through the storm, a howl echoed from the woods. It was long, low, and hungry. The mother pulled him close, her arm firm around his shoulders. "They can't get in," she said softly, though fear whispered in her chest. Wolves grew reckless when the night ran too long. After a moment, she spoke again. "Do you know why I told you to move slowly with the key?" The boy shook his head because fear makes us rush. She said, her eyes fixed on the fire. "But strength, real strength, comes from patience you show both tonight." The boy's lips curved into a small, proud smile. The thunder rumbled again, but he no longer flinched. Together, they sat by the fire, listening to its steady crackle while the storm screamed outside. Night and the morning hours slipped away. The storm pressed hard against the walls, and the forest outside groaned under its weight. Branches snapped in the distance. Wolves cried again, closer now. The mother's hand tightened around the fire poker, her eyes never leaving the door. Near midnight, something scraped against the wood. The boy stirred, but she pressed her palm gently over his hair. Another growl followed, low, guttural. Then silence, her heart pounded. But she stayed still, waiting. Minutes crawled by, the rain softened. The scratching stopped. Only the fire spoke now, whispering its small, brave crackle in the quiet. At last dawn came. Faint light filtered through the shuttered window. Pale and calm, the mother exhaled. For the first time in hours, she leaned over and touched her son's shoulder. He blinked awake, confusion giving way to relief when he saw her face. The fire was still alive, glowing gently in the hearth. "We made it," he whispered. "Yes," she said, her voice soft but steady. "You made it. You opened the door when it mattered most." They stepped outside together. The world smelled of rain and renewal. Trees dripped with water, branches broken but glistening in the early light. The forest was scarred yet alive. The boy breathed deeply, his small chest rising with strength he hadn't felt before. His mother's hand rested on his shoulder. "Steady and warm when you said it would be all right," he asked quietly. "Did you really believe it?" She smiled faintly, brushing damp strands of hair from her face. "I had to," she answered, "because if I believed, then you could too." He nodded slowly, the words sinking deep into Together they turned toward the muddy trail leading home. Behind them, the cabin stood silent and strong, holding their memory within its walls ahead. The path shimmered with morning light and promise. The mother squeezed his shoulder gently. "Slow," she said. "Steady," he replied. "Patient," she finished, her smile faint but full of pride. And side by side, they walked forward, leaving the storm behind but carrying its lesson forever.